So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine.
Tay-K's just learned his new release date, and it's starting to look like he ain't making it out the four walls of prison. But how did he go from being on top of the world to serving a rap for double homicide? Let's dive in and find out. Bro was built different. Bro, real talk, pull up the recorded, or a single charge got filed. That's a completely different conversation. And that's the conversation we're having today. Because this ain't just a rapper caught a case and fell off story. This goes way deeper than that. This is about a kid who was already in survival mode before he ever touched a microphone. A kid who had never really been given a reason. Sister Kayla Beverly, out of the home, multiple foster homes, multiple cities. They even spent time out in Las Vegas, far from anything that resembled stability or roots. Then the father to even process. She described how he once tied a young Tamor to an ironing board when he cried because he thought the boy was being overdramatic. Both parents were painted throughout the trial as MIA or flat out inadequate. A whole household shaped by substance abuse, mental illness, and criminality running through the bloodline. Defense experts stood up in court and called it a perfect storm. And honestly, that's not even a reach. Now look, and we gotta say this clearly because some of y'all are already typing in the comments, none of that background is a pass for what came after. None of it brings anybody back. None of it unfiles any charges. But if you want to actually understand how a human being ends up on a trajectory like Tay-K's, you don't get to skip this part. The soil matters. What was planted in that soil matters. And what was growing in Tamor McIntyre, long before anybody cared about his SoundCloud page, was something that nobody with sense should have been surprised eventually went sideways. Tamor McIntyre was 15 years old, fresh off the first day of the new year, 2016, when the first documented violent incident entered his orbit. He was riding as a passenger in a car in Denton, Texas, when his associate Eric Santana Sage Johnson shot and killed University of North Texas student Sarah Muchlechner following an altercation that allegedly started over sexual harassment by people in that same vehicle. No cap, Tamor wasn't the shooter. He wasn't charged. He wasn't even required to testify. Johnson ended up convicted of murder and sentenced to 44 years, and Tamor walked away clean, at least in the eyes of the law. But think about what just happened. This 15-year-old kid, already shaped by years of trauma and instability, just sat in a car where a woman got killed by one of his guys. And instead of that being the moment where he zoomed out and said, "I need to move different," he stayed in the same world. Same circles, same energy, same direction. The red flags were flying. He just wasn't reading them. 6 months later, Tamor McIntyre is 16 years old. And on the night of July 26, 2016, in Mansfield, Texas, the choices and the crew and the chaos that had been building around him for years finally hit a wall. And it wasn't a wall anybody was walking away from clean. Prosecutors said McIntyre orchestrated a home invasion lick targeting a 17-year-old named Zachary Belote. The play was to run up on him for his drugs and money. The whole operation was laid out. Accomplices Megan Holt and Ariana Barrett were on the door duty, luring Belote to open up. McIntyre and co-defendants Letharian Merritt, Sean Robinson, Jalen Bell, and a juvenile came through. Tay-K later admitted in a 2.5-hour recorded interrogation that his job was to search the house for the drugs. He wasn't supposed to be the trigger man. That was the plan. But here's the thing about plans made by teenagers running up in somebody's house. They don't survive contact with reality. During the chaos of that invasion, Merritt shot and killed 21-year-old Ethan Walker, a father of a young daughter, standing there with his hands up in the air. Another resident caught a bullet too. 7 people got charged with capital murder. And then, one by one, like a line of dominoes, everybody started folding. Ariana Parat, 25 years for aggravated robbery. Megan Holt, 20 years in exchange for testifying. Sean Robinson, 40 years for murder. Jalen Bell, 30 years. The juvenile, 20 years. Merritt, the actual shooter, got capital murder in 2018 and caught life without parole. Every single person in that house that night was cooperating. Every last one of them took a deal. Every deal they took left Tay-K more exposed than the day before. Nobody was riding for him. The streets was talking. And they was talking to the DA. The streets knew it was coming. On Vlad TV, when people were first processing the situation, somebody who'd been through the system themselves laid it out exactly.
Tay-K is up on murder charges, and everyone seems to be turning against him. So like the female, that was one of his co-defendants.
She had just taken 25 years over a 45-year capital murder bid, which means she was gonna get on that stand and sing everything she knew. And when someone who'd been on death row themselves got asked directly how bad it was looking for Tay-K at that point, there was no sugarcoating it.
But as of right now, with them two testifying, he looking like he gonna be sunk. Cause you know, them powerful witnesses.
Sunk. That's the word. And at this point, the prosecution hadn't even gotten to the second murder case yet. The walls were closing in from every direction. So what did Tamor McIntyre do? He did what the song he was about to record told you he did. He ran. While all this legal heat was building up around the Mansfield case, McIntyre had been placed on house arrest in early 2017, pending his certification hearing to decide whether he'd be tried as an adult. Ankle monitor on, lawyers in his corner, a theoretical pathway through the courts still technically open. And on March 27, 2017, he cut that ankle monitor off and dipped, gone. But here's where it crosses from reckless into genuinely unbelievable. Bro announced it on social media to the entire internet. He posted, "This house arrest 12, they can have 2, catch me on hood." A 16-year-old on the hook for a capital murder case, wanted by law enforcement, and he's out here posting about it like it's a W. Like cutting your ankle bracelet while facing murder charges is something you tweet about. That's not gangsta. That's not cold. That's a kid with no real understanding of consequences, or a kid so deep in survival mode that he genuinely didn't care what came next. Either way, what came next was bad. Really, really bad. And it's the subject of part 2. 2 bodies, 1 banger, and the trials. When Tamor McIntyre cut that monitor and dipped into the wind, he didn't vanish. He didn't go quiet. He didn't pull up somewhere out the way and lay low until things cooled down. That ain't what happened. What actually happened is that a 16-year-old fugitive, wanted for a capital murder case, decided to move through Texas like he was invincible, catching another body in the process, hopping to New Jersey, recording a song about the whole thing, and then getting locked up the same day the song dropped. I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating for the plot. I promise you I'm not. Somewhere between cutting that ankle bracelet and getting caught up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, Tamor McIntyre made his way to San Antonio, and on the afternoon of April 23rd, 2017, McIntyre and Jalen Bell pulled up on 23-year-old photographer Mark Anthony Saldivar in a Chick-fil-A parking lot and attempted to rob him for his camera equipment. Surveillance cameras caught the whole thing on tape. Saldivar wasn't going out without a fight. He jumped on the hood of their SUV. McIntyre shot him once. Mark Anthony Saldivar died, 23 years old, a creative professional, somebody out here using his camera to build a career. Gone, over some equipment, not over a beef, not over territory, over a lick that probably wasn't gonna net them more than a couple $1,000s on a good day, if that. And when people were talking about this years later, Tony Yayo said exactly what needed to be said.
Ran.
Well, whatever it
and then
was,
he
it
kills
was
another
it was
dude,
it was
a 23-year-old.
Listen, it was a senseless murder to a
two of
person.
them, two senseless
Well, look,
murders.
2 senseless murders over camera equipment and stuff like that.
Senseless. That's the only word for it. Tay-K wasn't beefing with Mark Saldivar. Mark Saldivar wasn't part of any story. He was just in the wrong parking lot on the wrong afternoon when somebody decided his camera was worth taking. And now his name is permanently tied to one of the most talked about criminal cases in hip-hop history, not because of anything he did, but because of what was done to him. McIntyre kept moving. He allegedly ran up on 65-year-old Oni Skip Pepe at gunpoint in Arlington's Cravens Park on May 25, 2017, knocked the man unconscious during a robbery. This was a teenager on a full fugitive run, leaving a trail across Texas, touching people whose only crime was existing in his path. And through all of it, through every robbery, every state line crossed, every day the feds were getting closer, Bro was recording music. The Race. If you weren't there when this thing dropped, it's hard to fully communicate what it felt like in real time, because the circumstances were insane. A 16-year-old fugitive, wanted on capital murder charges out of Tarrant County, records a song literally describing cutting off his ankle bracelet and refusing to take a case lying down, and then gets arrested by U.S. Marshals on the exact same day the song comes out. June 30th, 2017. McIntyre gets locked up in Elizabeth, New Jersey. June 30th, 2017. The Race drops on SoundCloud. Same day. The internet went absolutely feral. The Free Tay-K hashtag went up immediately and spread across every platform. The track hit the Billboard Hot 100 at number 70 and peaked at number 44. Travis Scott, Kodak Black, Lil Yachty, Meek Mill, Designer, they were all posting the lyrics, giving it the cosign. The music video had him standing next to his own wanted poster like it was a flex. Tyga and Rico Nasty dropped remixes. His management pushed the Santana World mixtape out from Tarrant County Jail, and it entered the Billboard 200. The whole culture was locked in. The song has since crossed 255 million YouTube views and over 400 million Spotify streams. Those are numbers that most artists spend entire careers chasing. And here's what makes all of that almost tragically poetic, if you want to call it that. The same song that made him famous was going to get played back to a jury during his sentencing and used as evidence of flight from justice and zero remorse. The record that launched the career was also a key piece of the prosecution's case. Lord Jamar and the Homie broke it down on Vlad TV at the time.
Well, unlike Meek Mill,
Tay-K had a very dissimilar experience in court.
Because the vibe was, everybody was watching this like it might go different, like maybe the wave could carry him through somehow. And then the verdict landed, and it was a whole different energy.
The race is over. 55 years.
Ouch.
And he has another murder trial to go.
55 years for the first case, and another murder trial still incoming. The wave couldn't carry him through none of it. Certified to be tried as an adult, Tay-K's Tarrant County proceedings kicked off July 15, 2019. He went in and immediately pled guilty on the 2 robbery counts, but he contested the murder charge, arguing he didn't anticipate the shooting, wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, and that Ethan Walker's death shouldn't fall on him legally. The counter-argument the prosecution offered was Texas's longer sentence is running the show. 2 trials, 2 murder convictions, 5 total convictions including the robberies, and a projected release date that now read August 8, 2099. The race hadn't just ended. Bro had lapped himself going in the wrong direction and ended up in a completely different deck dreams in its debut weekend on Spotify. Over 1 million in a weekend. While the man behind the music is sitting in a cell at the Connolly unit with approximately 26,807 does, the tours, the albums, the artist development, the real longevity, all of it got swallowed by a sentence that now stretches. Things can go from viral to life sentence, and it's happening in real time. When Vlad and Tony Yayo were putting it all on the table, Yayo ended up videos and the memes, 2 people who were living their lives, minding their business, and ended up dead because somebody decided that what they had was worth taking. Ethan Walker, 21, in this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.